First, let's start off by asking a broad question. What is the significance of the G20 summit in light of the current global events?
Okay. Thank you for inviting me. So I would say for this year, the G20 is very important because it is now because of the Donald Trump became the another term of the U.S. president. But different from the Trump 1.0 for the Trump 2.0, the major difference is because the China and the U.S. the relations between the two countries deteriorates a lot. And that means the around the world the global political crisis is the risk of the geopolitical crisis is getting higher than 8 years or 4 years ago. And also the Ukrainian crisis, the Israeli-Palestinian conflicts. So there are so many political geopolitical risk around the world that, of course, it theoretically need the cooperations between China and the US to solve the problems. But it seems we saw no solutions because of both countries, their relations is getting worse and worse.
Okay, so you touched on the idea of geopolitics, and this obviously has a role to play, not just when it comes to diplomacy and politics, but it also affects the global economy as a whole. So, what role does the G20 summit play when it comes to addressing global economic challenges such as inflation and recession, given the many geopolitical aspects that enter into it?
For the 320 arena, I would say for the because the Joe Biden is going to leave the office. So I guess the general or the audience around the world and investors would put more attentions on China. So that means Xi Jinping. How would Xi Jinping would propose is the China-led globalization order that is to try to attract or the investors or other leaders around the world that the globalization is good, inclusive trade is good, to try to portray America that is to forcing the mercantilism, protectionism is not as good. It's not good to the global economy. So I would say the Xi Jinping would take this chance to try to persuade to the general public around the world and the global leaders to try to persuade them to still trust the globalization, to still open the border, to do more free trade. Of course, the reason, the rationale behind this is that China has to be one of the major leader around the world, and it seems the president-elect Donald Trump is going to have to challenge this agenda that is proposed by Xi Jinping. So I would say for this G20 summit, yes, the Xi Jinping China is going to be the focus, and people would try to think whether what the Donald Trump would react after this
Yes.
G20. Yes.
Well, sir, you talked about, a change in administration and all of that, and obviously this is something that concerns the global community in general. So, what are your expectations or are your expected roles when it comes to the G20 summit in supporting economic stability in the next period, given, the pledge that President Joe Biden gave during the G20 summit of $4 billion to the World Bank? Is this preemptive as the incoming president-elect Donald Trump comes into office?
I would say yes, because Joe Biden is still committed to this what we so-called the global governance. That is, of course, to strengthen the U.S.-led world order, and also because it is what Joe Biden and the previous U.S. administrations believe that is the U.S. has to do more on and to strengthen the global governance. And it is because we all know Joe Biden has got only 2 more months in the office, and it is what he could do. It is last 2 months. So we don't know whether Donald Trump would what we would do in the since he take his office again in the next year in the January. Maybe he would leave maybe choose one of the world organizations to leave. We don't know, but at least for what the Joe Biden now he's doing to do what he believes and before he leaves the office.
Okay, my final question here for you, sir, is in your opinion, what are the key outcomes that are anticipated to come out from this year's summit?
I would say that for this year's summit, except other than the Xi Jinping would propose his the China-led globalization order, and also we could have we could try to focus on whether the so-called the global South countries that is led by the India, Brazil, or maybe Southeast Asia and other developing countries, what they are going to propose and how they are going to force the developed countries to do more to help the global South to avoid the, for example, like hunger, the food crisis, or even the debt, and also, of course, the climate change.
Okay, thank you for joining us, international political economist Mr. Benny Kwok. Thank you so much for joining us here on Q News.